Hi there, Tom Suvansri, Premier Trust Advisors. Thanks for joining me on this video. So today I want to cover a basic topic as it relates to investing, which is rates of return. So obviously when we're talking about something as basic as a stock market, you may hear average rates of return, and usually at a gross level, which is important for sure. So I would consider that an internal rate of return. But what is most important is what I call external rate of return, which factors in other costs along the way. And that's what you're left with to use and enjoy for whatever you want. And so today I just want to go through a basic example to highlight what may drive the differences between an internal rate of return and an external rate of return. And really it might be eye-opening to understand what that means for you and your investments. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And here's just a basic calculator that we're going to use for this example. And I'm going to draw some stuff out. So we're going to go with the assumption of a 35-year-old couple and illustrate this over 30 years. And let's just assume that they're able to save, say, $10,000 a year. That's $300,000 over 30 years, right? So pretty basic stuff. And let's go with the assumption that they can earn 11.46% every single year. And that's obviously a very specific number, but as we go along this, you'll see why that matters. So if they were able to do that, 11.46%, pretty healthy, results in a $2.4 million account. Pretty good. Something they can retire on. It's a pretty healthy number. So let's just document that and say from the start, you have $10,000 over 30 years at 11.46%. Let's just call it an even 2.4 million. Okay, pretty good start. So as we said, though, we got to understand what the external rate of return is after everything. So the first thing we want to do is understand that the stock market doesn't work evenly every year. We know this. It has volatility. Yes, over periods of time, it's been more positive than negative. And so let's take a look at what that looks like. So let's just take the last 30 years, and we'll use large cap, which represents the S&P 500 with dividends reinvested, so it counts for that. And let's look at it from 1989, and that's to 2019. So we get 30 years, and what you'll see is your 11.46% rate of return now drops to 8.83% rate of return, and your net account value drops to $1.4 million. So you lost nearly $1 million in your account. So what happened here? Well, the fact of the matter is average rates of return are very different than actual, because mathematically losses have a much higher impact to your account than the gains. And so this really illustrates that point, that although the average may be great, the losses have a much stronger impact to your net results. And so in this scenario, your 11.46% actually turns into 8.83% rate of return. So now you're dropping to $1.4 million just because of the volatility of the market. And that's where losses can really, again, have a much bigger impact than most people may realize. So that's for starters. Now, obviously we're talking about there's expenses, right? There could be expenses associated with these investments. So one, the most prominent one are fees, and they can come in different varieties, management fees. There could be fees tied to the mutual fund, if that's where you're investing, marketing fees. But let's just do something very conservatively and say there's a 1% management fee. And I've seen them as high as 3%. Let's say 1%. So 1% actually now equates to almost $118,000 of fees directly, but it dropped the account to 1.16 million. So let's look at that. 1% fee goes to now 1.16 million. So you had $117,000 fees, but you lost nearly almost $300,000 of value. And that's because there's an opportunity cost associated with the fees. Because the fees are taken from your account, they obviously stop earning for you for years. So that opportunity cost can really cause some damage to your account value. And there's a lot of other places within in people's financial lives that opportunity cost can rear its ugly head. So the next big ticket item on here are taxes. And unfortunately, sometimes it's difficult to get away from the tax man. And so to get access to your money, to be able to use it and liquidate, you may pay taxes. So let's just assume a 20% tax rate, and we're paying it from the account. So a 20% tax rate drops your account to $733,000. Pretty significant. So if we go down this ladder of 20% taxes, now we're talking about $733,000 from the starting point of 2.4 million. And unfortunately, we're not done yet. You know, especially for folks who are 35 and maybe they're starting to raise children, so they get term insurance, life insurance, and it's usually in the form of term insurance. We're told, buy term, invest the difference. That's going to be the cheapest way to do it. On a separate video, I'll share where that's actually not true. But for this case, we're going to go with the assumption that they get $1,000 of term insurance costs every year, pay for that, and it's netted out from this account. Now we're dropping to $659,000. So in here we go, a 2.4 million account dropped to $659,000 based on all the costs and fees that are impacting the return. So that $300,000 invested in here now turns into $659,000 for a net return of 4.68. And dealing with volatility and risk in this account. And this doesn't even factor in inflation. So when you look at this, it's just important to recognize that, yes, they may tout these incredible average rates of return, but you got to look at what is the net. What is it that the resulting amount in your accounts that you get to use? Because that's really in the end what's going to matter the most. So it's not saying that you never have fees. There might be used to have fees if you're getting value out of it, but it's just also recognizing, are there ways to mitigate taxes or reduce costs in other areas so that you can build your wealth without these eroding type factors that are going to impact it. So I hope this was helpful. It gives you some food for thought to maybe examine what you're doing with your investments, to understand truly the true external rate of return that you and your family get to enjoy. Take care, and I hope to talk to you soon.